Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. How was your day today? Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one, about OP's coworker, who demands OP shares her food with her, otherwise she will lose the baby. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. Let me set the scene. I, 19 female, have hypoglycemia due to a medication I take. Like my blood sugar stays pretty low, but it dips out randomly. So I always keep some snacks on me when I go to work, just in case. I only usually bring one or two things, because I can generally handle my 12-hour shifts without having any major issues, especially since I eat during my dinner break. But occasionally, my blood sugar just drops. I get dizzy, shaky, and get a horrible headache. So I have to take a short break and eat my snack. I fainted at work before, so I don't take any chances. I have a coworker, Jenny. Jenny, 26 female, is about 15 weeks pregnant with her second kid. She essentially bullies everyone into accommodating her. By that, I mean she basically guilted a few of our coworkers into buying her dinner because of the baby. She never brings her own lunch, but always eats because she manages to guilt someone into buying her food or giving her theirs for the baby. Now, I've never had a problem with her before, but we weren't exactly close, and I try to avoid working with her just because of what I've heard. Unfortunately, it ended up with us together. Well, midway through our shift together, my head started to hurt, my hands were shaking, and I felt a little lightheaded. So I took my 15-minute break, went behind my desk, and took out my snack. I only had the one since I ate my other one earlier in the day. Enter Jenny. She sees me taking my break and decides she needs one too. She takes the seat next to me, complaining that the baby is making her ankles swell. She complained for a few more seconds before zeroing in on my pack of trail mix. She asked me for it nicely, so I offered to share, but she lost it. She said since I'm not a mom yet, I don't know what it's like to be hungry. She said she could miscarry without nutrients. I tried to explain my blood sugar issue, but no dice. Jenny tried to snatch it out of my hands, but I jumped back. She starts sobbing about how horrible I am and how she feels sick now, and if her child miscarries, it's now on my conscience. I offer to split it again, but Jenny starts crying harder, saying she's craving it and she's so hungry that she needs the whole 2-ounce bag. She makes such a fuss over trail mix that she actually reports me to our supervisor and has to go home sick. Now all of my coworkers are on her side since she's supposedly very sick because I deprived her of food since I was too heartless to let her eat what she needed, and how it's good manners to share, especially with a pregnant woman. Now I feel kinda bad that I didn't just give her the trail mix. I could have worked through some dizziness if she was that hungry that she was willing to go through all of that over it. I'm going to start keeping more snacks on me to share in case this happens again. But now I feel bummed out in case I did actually hurt the baby in some way. Am I an a-hole? Honestly, even without the hypoglycemia, this is atrocious and unacceptable behavior. No one is ever entitled to other people's stuff, especially not their food, just because they happen to also be hungry, and oh, but it looks so tasty, and but I'm really craving it right now. Not saying that the hypoglycemia doesn't actually affect this scenario or have relevance to anything, just pointing out that even without a serious medical condition attached, Jenny's behavior was 110% not okay and excessive to the point of hilarity. Pregnancy and hormones are not just excuses or get-out-of-jail-free cards to become an entitled a-hole. If seeing someone else eating a snack that she wants is enough to both send her spiraling into a full-blown temper tantrum and nutrient deficiency to the point of physical illness, even if it is 100% placebo drama, then she needs to either just stay home or bring her own damn snacks. This is unacceptable behavior from a fully grown adult in so many ways. But it is especially unacceptable behavior in the workplace. She does not get whatever she wants whenever she wants it, just because she is pregnant. She does not get to throw literal temper tantrums, complete with tears and verbal abuse, or to openly attempt to manipulate and gaslight her coworkers into giving her whatever she wants at their own expense, just because she is pregnant. OP should not need to spend her own time and money on snacks for a fully grown, employed, soon-to-be mother who's on a power trip. And OP certainly does not need to sacrifice her own health and well-being just because she was either too lazy or too entitled to get her own damn food. OP should stop blaming herself for this woman's atrocious and immature actions, and stop buying into manipulation by convincing herself that she was in any way at fault for any of this. I want nothing to do with my brother and his fiancée. They have done plenty of things over the years which have resulted in family and friends going no contact, but that's a whole load of other stories. They were due to get married next weekend. However, due to obvious reasons, they've had to postpone it. The thing that pissed a lot of people off was that if we wanted to go to their wedding, we had to pay our share of the wedding. They didn't organize a cheap wedding neither. It was a 75,000 euro wedding. With the amount of friends and family going, we would all have to paid 500 euro each. This wasn't discussed beforehand, it was just expected of everyone. Essentially, they paid for the wedding themselves via loans, but expected everyone to pay their share, so the wedding was free for them. My parents and her parents even offered to pay for the majority between them, but my brother refused. A lot of people kicked off and either declined to go or refused to pay. The amount we had to pay rose from 500 euro to 1,500 euro pretty much overnight. This is just for one person, not even a plus one. People refusing and dropping out caused a huge temper tantrum from my brother and his girlfriend. He's always been the golden child. He's very entitled and expects everyone to bend at his will. Eventually, my dad caved, enabler and why my brother is so entitled, and paid for all of our share, even though we all declined. The rest of us have morals and don't live out of our parents' pockets, one of the other stories. And we have all paid our dad back the 1,500 euro. So, to now, the wedding was cancelled. Naturally, there was a huge drama for my brother and his equally as entitled narcissistic girlfriend. If they rescheduled the wedding, it will cost them another 8K to rebook everything. Guess who has to pay for it? The guests. My brother's girlfriend called an emergency meeting to discuss the wedding. They stated they refused payment for my dad again. Apparently, we are the entitled ones because he paid for us the last time. If we refuse to pay this time, it will be our fault the wedding is ruined. Blah, blah, blah. My $1,500 euro share is now 1,660 euros. There are so many other things that have happened over the years. This isn't some petty crap that sparked this off. In short, my siblings and I are done with them. Not an a-hole. I know it seems mean not to attend your own brother's wedding, but that's actually what I would end up saying and doing. Who expects guests to pay to attend an event? If you are a guest, that means you were invited, and to be invited means that you were asked to come, not pay to come. My 35 male, fiancé's 33 female, uncle died 10 months ago. He had 2 daughters, Riley, 13 female, and Juliana, 14 female. Their mom is out of the picture and hasn't seen the kids in 8 years. My fiancé lived with them for years and is very close with both of them. They're good kids, but they're very spoiled. Their dad was insanely rich, so I doubt they've ever heard the word no. My fiancé grew up well off, but my family was broke growing up. My mom worked at a gas station and my dad was a janitor at the local elementary school. We had a roof above our heads and food on the table, but not much else. I also have a 5-year-old daughter, Charlie, from a previous relationship that I have full custody of. We're middle class, and while I want her to have a good childhood and not have to worry about money, I don't want her to be spoiled and take things for granted. My fiancé was her cousin's guardian, and she immediately insisted on moving to her cousin's house and taking care of them. She said this was non-negotiable for her, and if I'm not on board, we'll have to break up. I didn't want to break up, so we moved into her cousin's giant house. These girls had a live-in nanny, a chef, a maid, and a driver to take care of them since their dad worked so much. My fiancé agreed to let go of the driver and chef, but is refusing to let go of the maid and nanny. She says the house is too big for her to clean herself, and the nanny is family to the girls, and she didn't want them to lose anyone else. I think it's stupid, but her uncle has a fund set up specifically to keep these people here, so it's not like it's affecting me in any way. Also, both girls are competitive dancers and fly all over the country to compete, and when they're not competing, they're usually working, modeling, or acting. Their nanny usually takes them to these things, but they've been guilting my fiancée into taking them on her days off. These girls love having a little sister and buy Charlie new toys at least once a week and dress her up in expensive clothes. She loves it and is starting to expect new toys when we go anywhere with a toy section. Charlie wanted a new toy and went directly to Riley and Juliana to ask for it. I didn't find out about this until it came in the mail. I went to my fiancé and asked if they have other family that can take care of the girls because they're turning Charlie into a spoiled brat. She lost it and yelled at me for implying that her girls were spoiled brats and for constantly talking crap about them. We've been arguing since, and my family thinks I'm being an a-hole, so I wanted to know if I was wrong. Yes, I think OP is an a-hole. All the chefs and drivers in the world aren't going to make up for the fact that these girls lost their dad and don't have a relationship with their mom. OP should try to remember that when he is accusing them of being spoiled brats because they have material wealth. If OP is worried about the influence that gifts are having on Charlie, it would be responsible to set some ground rules with his fiancée so she can convey these to the girls and get everyone on the same page. But asking to move out and blaming them for turning his daughter into a spoiled brat is definitely out of line. If this situation isn't working out for you, and it really seems like it isn't, then you might want to consider getting out sooner rather than later, because it's really not fair for these girls to get attached to you and then lose you too. My 21 female dad was a ducked-up man. I grew up watching him abusing my mother and blaming me for his lack of success in life. He was always drunk, high, or just angry. He used to come home and tell my mother about all the girls he'd ducked that day, and then blaming her for it. He also hated my siblings and me, 'cause he believed we stole our mother from him, and it was our fault that she didn't love him anymore, while she still did it. My mother finally left him when I was 7. This molded the way I see a man very hard. I don't want a person like my father in my life, 'cause I don't want to end like my mother. I love her very much, but that's just a no. When I began to date, I tried to see the same patterns that I saw in my father, but not all abusers behave the same. So when I started to date Daniel, 28 male, I didn't think that something was wrong until our last date. I told him that as soon as the Rona left, I was planning on doing an educational trip with my family. We want to go to Teotihuacan and learn more about the Mexican culture, and that my stepdad, who's Mexican, was so excited to be able to go back to his country. He laughed and said that the trip wasn't happening for me. I got confused and asked what he meant and said, "I don't like Mexico. You are not allowed to go." I said that my trip wasn't about him, and he started to rant about how disrespectful I was, that I don't value our relationship, and that to get it in my ducking head that I wasn't going to travel to that crapbag country, that it was the trip or him. And I said that I was going to send him a postal from Mexico. I broke up with him on the spot and left. I expected him talking crap about me like my father did to my mom, but no. Next thing I know, he shared my nudes with all of his friends, and when I confronted him, he said that it was my punishment for disrespecting his place, and that he is going to make them erase them if I apologize, beg, and don't go on the trip. I thought that my world was ending, because this could affect me in my school and social life. So my mother advised me to talk to her lawyer, since my dad is still a deadbeat with the child support of my younger brother. I don't want to give all the details, but I ended up suing him. He got arrested and had to pay me a big sum of money too, so they had to sell his apartment, which was being occupied by his mother without my knowledge. His sister called me the other day and said that I was a heartless bee who left an elderly woman in the streets, and that I deserved to get my nudes spread for being a spoiled brat who chose a trip over her boyfriend. She said that I needed to pay her mother for a new apartment, and that if I don't, they will be the ones suing me now. His mother also believes that his son is innocent and that I set him up. I wished them good luck and said that I'll be waiting for it then. Am I an a-hole? His mother is like 67 years old, and this is a pandemic. But I kinda don't care, cause they see him as the victim. OP didn't leave her homeless. His illegal action cost him the family home. Good luck to them suing OP. Any decent lawyer would laugh them out of his office. And if it somehow made its way onto a docket, any judge would dismiss it outright. Me, 28 male, and my wife, 26 female, have been together for 12 years and have 5 children. 1 male, 2 male, 3 male, 4 male, and 5 male. Also, to give context, my wife was one of my mother's students for a private school she worked at, and I met her when my mom asked me to tutor her on some subjects she struggled with. Also, I and her father, 64 male, are very close. In addition, my wife is currently 30 weeks pregnant. Recently, a high-end steakhouse near us reopened, closed due to COVID. Last night, me, my wife, children, and father-in-law went there for dinner. My wife heard about the shrimp they had as an appetizer and talked about how excited she was to try it all day. As I expected, once she tasted the shrimp, she was extremely disappointed. I also tried it. It tasted all right, but nothing insane. But to my astonishment, my wife literally started crying from disappointment. And that wasn't even the worst of it. Our waitress was an absolute angel, but about halfway through the dinner, my wife literally gave her hell. I will spare you guys all the details, but her doing that thing where people would tap the glass on the table to get the waitress' attention should tell you all you need to know. But the worst of it was when my father-in-law, he was paying, asked me to calculate. Meal altogether was around $300. The tip. And right when the waitress walked by us, my wife pointed at her and told my father-in-law, "Don't tip her." Of course, since my wife is my father-in-law's biggest moral weakness, he listened to my wife and didn't tip her anything. Of course, I was absolutely livid and left for the car immediately after. Once my wife, father-in-law, and children came back into the car, they asked me what was wrong. I asked my wife why she didn't want father-in-law to tip the waitress. She responded by saying her and her ilk scammed us both of the appetizers. She was talking about the shrimp. I simply said she acted like an entitled brat and didn't talk to her for the rest of the day. After we got back home, my father-in-law tried talking to me. He said that my wife was slightly rude, but calling her that was extremely rude, and I shouldn't have made my wife cry in front of our children. My wife usually isn't like this, and the pregnancy hormones are probably affecting her, but her behavior yesterday was just atrocious. Am I an a-hole? OP's wife has given birth every year since she turned 20. I think they have bigger problems than some crappy shrimp. Also, who takes 5 toddlers to a steakhouse? Edit. I keep seeing this in the comments, and I'm starting to get pissed off by it. So I will say it in the post. I do not force my wife to have our children. That is something we both agreed on. So please, stop acting like pregnancy is a crime I did toward my wife. Actually, she was the one who brought up the idea of no birth control.